be estimating sums and differences in this lesson. They give you a good idea of what your answer should be before you actually do the problem. Simply find out each fraction. If each one is closer to 0, closer to half, or closer to 1, and then perform the operation. If it's adding, go ahead and add them up. Subtracting, just go ahead and subtract them. All right, so I'll start off with some pictures on this one. 7/8 minus 2/6 minus 2/10. So if I start with 7/8 and drag that in here, see that 7/8 is right here. This is 7/8, and it's very close here to 1. We're only 1 away. And to get over here, we are 3 away. So you can see we're much closer. Sometimes this difference is very slight, and so I think it's good to put these little distances in here to see how far it is to get from a half to 7/8, for instance. Because sometimes it's going to be so close, it might only be a half of one of your pieces, and to have that distance in there will help you make your final decision. All right, so we have 7/8, and that's closest to 1. Now 2/6. When I do 2/6, that's right over here. So again, you can see we're quite close here. This is 2, and this is only 1. To get from 2/6 to 3/6 should be 1. To get from 2/6 down to 0/6 would be 2, so it's closer to 1/2. So far our problem is 1 minus a half. And now we'll figure 2/10 in here. Two tenths is closest to 0. You can see that it's 2 away from here, 3 away from here. So it's closest to 0. So when I take 7/8 minus 2/6 minus 2/10, I should get an answer that's very close to 1/2. And so that's what we're doing here today, is estimating these to see which one is closer. Closer to 0, closer to half, or closer to 1. And then we get a good estimate before we actually even do the problem. All right. Let's move on to our next slide here then. 2/9 plus 2/5. So I put 2/9 up in here. 2/9 will be right in here. 2. This is one of those examples where I was talking about on the previous slide. You can see that it's 1 full piece, 2 full piece, and a half a piece. So it's 2.5 to get to half, and 2 to get to 0. So even though it's just a little bit closer to 0, it is closer to 0. Almost equal, or right in the middle. There are some that are right in the middle. We'll talk about those also. 2/5 then, if I was to put 2/5 in here. You can see 2/5 is very close to 1/2. There's 2 and only 5/10 here, or a half of a piece right there. So we're very close to 1/2. So that one was close to 0. That's close to a half. So when I actually do this problem, I should get an answer that is close to a half. All right, as you're doing these, then it's good to think about what is a half. So as you think about these, it would be good for you to know. We'll do a couple of them. I'll ask you to pause it and do the rest on your own before we finish it out. Like half of fourths, 2/4, that would be a half. Half of 6. So if you have sixths, 3/6 would be a half. So all of these would be equivalent to half when you get done. And some of them are a little bit harder, like when the number on the bottom is odd. So 4.5 out of 9 would be a half. 1.5 when you're dealing with thirds will give you a half. So I'd like you to press pause now and try and finish these out so that you can come up with these on your own when you're doing these problems. All right, welcome back. 6.5 should give you half of that one, 5.5, half of that one, 2.5, half of that one, 3.5, half of that one, and these are nice and easy because they have even denominators. All right, so as you think 5/6 then, 3/6 was half, 6/6 is the whole thing. So this is closest to 6/6, which is 1. This one, 6/12 would be half. 5/12 is very close to that. 1 plus a half would give you 1 and a half. 9/10, very close to 10/10, which would be a whole thing. And here's a tricky one, 2.5 would be half. So you can see that that's very close to that. So you end up with 1 minus a half to get a half. So these are the types of things you're doing as you're estimating sums and differences with fractions.